Evolution of Shrek. Next, Shrek reappears in the 2001 first musical short, Shrek in the Swamp Karaoke Dance Party, set a little bit prior to Shrek's and Fiona's honeymoon leave in the previous movie, performing a medley of modern pop, rap, and party songs. Shrek makes his debut appearance in the 2001 animated movie, carrying his name, which is the first production in the Shrek franchise, as a titular main protagonist voiced by Mike Myers. Here he appears as a big, green-skinned, physically intimidating ogre with a Scottish accent who wears rather cheap and crudely made clothes and lives in his own swamp inside a house, made of a dead tree root. Although he is rejected by many who first encounter him, as well as presented and perceived by others as murderous, dangerous, and just evil, he's actually quite peaceful, but kind and considerate, and does not care to hurt anyone but just wants to live in solitude and be left alone. One of his most conspicuous traits is his considerable physical strength, having the ability to break wood and metal constructions, beat armored humans in combat, and lift or turn objects that are too heavy for regular humans. In the story, after his peaceful life gets disturbed due to Lord Farquaad of Duloc exiling a large number of fairy tale creatures who then end up in his swamp, he, annoyed and angered, decides to visit Farquaad and demand that he move the creatures elsewhere, encountering a talkative donkey in the process, and allowing him to tag along and guide him to the destination. Upon their arrival, Shrek is tasked with saving Fiona, imprisoned in a castle and guarded by a dragon, and bringing her to the kingdom for Farquaad to marry in exchange for his demand. However, after rescuing Fiona, he ends up falling in love with her himself. Soon after, as if by a stroke of luck, Fiona turns into her ogre incarnation as a result of her curse, which requires a kiss of true love to stay in one of the incarnations permanently, causing Duloc to turn against them both but then get defeated, after which Shrek and Fiona kiss, breaking her curse and turning her into an ogre forever, and then marry in the swamp. In the 2003 4D animated short Shrek 4D, set after the movie Shrek, and before its sequel Shrek 2, Shrek appears, trying to save Fiona from a recently appeared ghost of Lord Farquaad, who'd captured her, with the help of Donkey and Dragon, eventually succeeding and defeating Farquaad once again. Following, Shrek reappears in the 2004 musical short Far, Far Away Idol, which is a continuation of the end of Shrek 2, in which Shrek, together with Fiona, Donkey, and others, holds a singing competition with Simon Cowell as a judge. Shrek reappears in the 2004 second animated movie in the franchise, with the same name, also voiced by Mike Myers. Here, soon after his honeymoon with Fiona, he's invited to the royal palace in the kingdom of Far, Far Away by Fiona's parents to celebrate their marriage, which he reluctantly accepts, only to later have a falling out with Fiona's parents and herself over her choice of him as her husband. Believing that Fiona has lost her love for him, he plans to steal one of Godmother's potions to restore their relationship, while Godmother herself actually secretly intends to eliminate Shrek and make Fiona fall in love with her son, Prince Charming, by means of a love potion. Soon after taking the potion, Shrek temporarily turns into a human, along with Fiona, and also finds out about Godmother's plans and decides to go back to the castle and stop her. Upon his arrival, he witnesses Fiona's rejection of Prince, which causes Godmother to try to kill him out of rage, but he's saved by Fiona's father, Harold, who covers him with himself, rebounding Godmother's spell into herself and disintegrating her as a result, as well as turning him into a frog. At the end, the potion Shrek had taken could have made Shrek and Fiona remain humans forever if they had kissed before midnight, but Fiona decided to return back to being ogres, after which they all happily reunite and celebrate their marriage with the whole kingdom. The 2006 animated movie Flushed Away features Shrek on 2 movie DVD covers of Shrek and Shrek 2, and also as a magnet on a fridge. Next, in the 2007 Christmas short special, Shrek the Halls, Shrek appears, being constantly reminded by Donkey about the soon-coming Christmas, which he doesn't want to celebrate. However, after he realizes that Fiona would like to celebrate it, he, not knowing how to celebrate it and what it even is, journeys to a bookstore and gets a book checklist about Christmas and how to prepare for it. He tries to follow the steps of the book, but everything keeps going wrong when Donkey and the rest of his friends unintentionally wreck Shrek's swamp, causing him to angrily kick them out, making Fiona upset and then leave with their 3 babies, Fergus, Farkle, and Felicia. Soon after, Shrek cools down and then apologizes before everyone for his anger, which was caused by his inexperience in celebrating Christmas, after which they return back, and Shrek reads a story about ogre claws, giving joy and cheer to everyone. Next, Shrek reappears in the 2007 movie sequel Shrek the Third, in his main role, voiced by Mike Myers. In the story, after Fiona's father and king, Harold, dies from old age, Shrek, unwilling to become the next king, together with Donkey and Puss in Boots embarks on a journey to find another suitable candidate for the throne, which turns out to be the king's nephew, 16-year-old Arthur Pendragon. However, as soon as Shrek begins to sail his ship, Fiona informs him that she's pregnant, which causes Shrek to have panic attacks and nightmares during his journey, illustrating his deep fear of parenthood. While Shrek is tasked with delivering Arthur to the kingdom safely, Prince Charming overtakes the kingdom, capturing everyone as prisoners, and also intends to kill Shrek alongside Arthur. However, Shrek protects Arthur by pretending to be fatally injured by Charming, but then, with the help from Arthur himself and others, convinces the villains to stop and eventually defeats Charming himself, after which Arthur becomes the king and Shrek congratulates him. Soon after, Shrek shows Fiona his readiness for their children, and after some time, he's happily playing and caring for them alongside Fiona and their friends, confirming his fears to be largely unfounded. Shrek appears next in the 2008 Broadway musical Shrek the Musical, which is mainly based on the first 2001 movie with some elements from all the sequels, portrayed originally by Brian D. R.C. James. In addition to retelling the traditional story, the musical elaborates on Shrek's past, depicting him during his different life stages and revealing the story of his troubled childhood, including how his parents sent his 7-year-old self out of the house to make his living alone, as a part of an old ogre tradition. The 2009 animated comedy movie Monsters vs. Aliens features Shrek's head as General Monger's rank pin on his chest. Next, Shrek makes his appearance in another 2010 Christmas short, Shrek's Yule Log, which features a virtual Yule log that Shrek incinerates to start a fire, and then he and others occasionally come onto the scene from behind the camera. Then, Shrek reappears in the 2010 fourth sequel movie Shrek Forever After, being voiced by Mike Myers. In the story, Shrek is shown to gradually lose his enjoyment of family life and grow tired and irritated by the constant need to care for their children, which causes him to eventually burst out in anger and lash out at Fiona, rashly saying that he was happier before saving her in the first place. After this, Shrek encounters Rumpelstiltskin, who has observed Shrek's angry outburst with Fiona, and now attempts to seize his chance to change Shrek's past to allow him to take over the kingdom before Shrek interrupted his plans. As a result, Shrek signs a magical contract that will let him live like a real ogre for a day in exchange for a day from his childhood that he would not remember being erased. However, upon signing it, he enters an alternative reality, where he didn't save Fiona and in which everything is different from his reality, and later finds out that the day that was erased was the day he was born, and that the contract will lead to his disappearing by the end of the day, as well, which can be nullified only by him kissing Fiona out of true love. His task is additionally complicated by his discovering that Fiona has become a bitter and disillusioned warrior fugitive who doesn't believe in true love anymore. At the end, as a result of Shrek and Fiona fighting side by side against Rumpelstiltskin, she does fall in love with him and then tries to kiss him as he starts to disappear and tells her all about their life together and their kids, which nullifies the contract and restores everything back to before his angry outburst and harsh words, after which he embraces his friends and family with greater appreciation than ever for everything he has, truly living happily ever after. In the 2010 Christmas short Donkey's Caroling Christmas-tacular, which is the second Christmas production based on Shrek, set right after the events of the previous movie, Shrek appears alongside Fiona, an army of other ogres and their friends, singing Christmas songs. In the 2010 Halloween special Scared Shrekless, Shrek appears, celebrating his favorite holiday, by first scaring trick-or-treaters with his little children, and then, after he, Fiona and the kids go back home, Donkey, Puss in Boots, and the fairy tale creatures try to scare them, but fail. As a way to make up for the attempt, Shrek challenges Donkey, Puss in Boots and the others to spend the night in Lord Farquaad's abandoned castle while telling scary stories, to then proclaim the last one to be Scared Shrekless, and crown them the king of Halloween. Shrek appears next in another 2011 Halloween short, Thriller Night, which is a parody of Michael Jackson's music video Thriller, now being voiced by Michael Gough. At the beginning, bursting out of a movie theater and screaming, since he wanted to see something scary like mummies or a man-eating plant for Halloween. Soon after he leaves, Puss and Donkey try to cheer him up by singing Thriller, but he then stumbles upon a cemetery, where many deceased villains and other characters become zombies, even including Fiona, Donkey and Puss themselves, much to his horror. At the end, as the zombies close in on him to eat his brains, he wakes up in the movie theater, revealing that he was dreaming the whole time. Next, Shrek makes a cameo in the 2014 animated short, Rocky and Bullwinkle, as a stuffed toy that Bullwinkle won at a park attraction. Following, Shrek appears in the first TV series in the franchise, New Shrek, which consists of short episodes featuring Shrek, sometimes together with Donkey, in the swamp, as he talks about his life, touching on various different topics, such as dancing, his morning routine, how to make party games fun, and many others. Then, Shrek appears in the next franchise miniseries, Swamp Talk, which is similar to that of a weekly talk show, featuring him and Donkey talking about trends, gossip, and other fun topics. In the commercial for the 2016 animated movie Kung Fu Panda 3, which is a parody of the recent Snickers advertisements, both Shrek and Donkey are featured as Monkey and Po, who aren't themselves when they are hungry. Shrek makes his next cameo in the animated TV show Dawn of the Croods, in the episode Tunnel of Terror as a cave drawing depicting him with a spiked club glaring at a scared donkey. Shrek makes his next cameo in the miniseries The Pentaverate, in episode 4, as a man in the Shrek costume who saves the main character, Ken, from Sasquatch. Then Shrek makes 2 cameos in the 2022 animated movie, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, first at the beginning, alongside Fiona and Donkey, and also in Puss's flashback of his past. Shrek reappears in the 2026 fifth movie in the franchise, Shrek 5, where, because of the new animation, his appearance has changed, reprised again by Mike Myers. Now he has some old man wrinkles since it's been over 10 years since Shrek Forever After came out.